The extent to which we create containers, the extent to which I say, are you open to hearing some of my thoughts about this thing that happened? Then we start setting the rocks around the fire pit. We start creating something that can hold a space for what we want. And we're just making it more likely that our needs are going to get met. We're basically creating a space where our needs can get better met. And when somebody says yes, then they're in. More in than they were before they said yes, even if there's some level of perceiving demand energy. And when we just launch into it, then people are like, whoa, there's some part of somebody who's like, whoa. And maybe they're totally ready for it, and we cultivate a capacity in the Guan, in the studio here, in the dojo, to be ready, right? To be ready for whatever shows up. Oh, that's what it's like for you. But to the extent that we can ask permission, can we have a conversation about this thing? I'm feeling vulnerable. I have something kind of vulnerable to share. Are you open to hearing that? Then we set up a container for something more wonderful to happen to that degree. And the last thing I want to say is that when I make other people responsible for my experience, when I'm in a state of blame, then I'm making a demand of them. And I'm going to evoke their rebelliousness. I'm going to evoke their need for autonomy. No, I'm not responsible for you or for that, or their submission, right? And so taking ownership of my own experience is an amazing way to get people to be able to hear about my experience without having to defend themselves from it. So when we use this format to say, this is what I saw, this is how I felt, this is what I needed, we're already starting on better ground than, you motherfucker, how dare you, right? And so it's just important to relate this demand energy piece and how we sort of go into that binary response system with any level or kind of demand, you know? Whether it's you're responsible for my experience, you need to take responsibility for it, you need to apologize to me, right? To, you know, whatever other levels of demand we have around it. But that's a core level. Because, it's so easy to know in our relationships how somebody else is not meeting our needs. It's a lot harder to own how I'm not showing up in integrity with my values and how I might be having an impact on you. And many relationships are playing the game, whether it's intimate relationship, friendship, or family, of, well, they got to apologize first. You know, they did the worst thing. I'm waiting for them to show up and be humble because what they did was worse. And guess what they're telling themselves? Same exact thing. And nobody's leaning in, and there's no contact, and we're separate, and we're disconnected. And until one person is willing to stick their neck out, to bow their head, to say, you know what? This relationship matters to me, not because of you, because of my integrity. Because I want integrity with my values. I want to acknowledge the places that I fucked up. I did this and this, and I see that it had this impact. This is how I feel about it. These are the needs that weren't met for me. I'm curious to hear about your experience, and I'm willing to hear about it. It's the simplest framework for reconnecting, creating amends, reestablishing connection where it's been torn, where it's been broken, so that our relationships can be restored, where we can lean into each other. And they may or may not be ready for it. We can't take any responsibility for what happens on that side over there. We can only take responsibility for our integrity as a communicator and as a being for whom relationship matters, to show up with our, vulnerability.